There are some questions about wine that always seem to pop up whenever we see it in a picture, a video, or a film. For instance, in Emily in Paris, that elegant glass of crisp white wine on a Parisian terrace sparks a question about how we adapt in cross-cultural settings, how something as simple as a sip can bridge entire worlds. In an older scene, Mr. and Mrs. Smith reminds us that love can be like wine itself, a dance between sweetness and sorrow, romance and ruin. And today, another question pours into the glass. Red wine versus white wine. What's the real difference? Hey, I'm Frank, and this is Secrets of Simple Things. Let's pour out a story about the world's most iconic drinks, red and white wine. From their ancient history to the modern questions that shimmer through every bottle. From their same root to the real difference. Let's start with the most obvious difference. Red wine is red. White wine is not. But the real reason why goes deeper than color. It's about the grape, and more importantly, what happens after it's picked. Red wines are made from dark-skinned grapes like Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Pinot Noir, and Syrah. White wines, on the other hand, are typically crafted from green or golden grapes, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling. Yet here's the twist. You can actually make white wine from red grapes. It all depends on the skins. In red wine making, the juice ferments with the skins, seeds, and sometimes even stems. This process, called maceration, is where magic happens. The skins bleed color, flavor, and tannins into the wine, creating depth and structure. White wine, in contrast, skips this step. The grapes are pressed, and the skins are discarded almost immediately. That's why whites are clearer, lighter, and more aromatic. Even fermentation temperature matters. Red wines ferment warm, around 70 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, 21 to 29 degrees Celsius, encouraging richness. Whites ferment cool, around 45 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 to 15 degrees Celsius, preserving those crisp, fruity, and floral notes. That's why the same grape, like Pinot Noir, can produce a red wine in Burgundy or a sparkling Blanc de Noir champagne if its skins are removed early. One grape, two worlds. Wine is as old as civilization itself. Archaeologists have found evidence of winemaking as far back as 6000 BC in the hills of Georgia, not the US state, but the ancient Caucasus region. The Greeks believed wine was a gift from Dionysus, the god of pleasure. The Romans spread vineyards across Europe, and by the Middle Ages, monks were the great guardians of the vine, perfecting fermentation and documenting each plot of land with divine precision. Those same vineyards in Burgundy and Bordeaux still exist today. Red or white, each wine carries history in every drop, from Chianti in Tuscany to Riesling in the Rhine Valley, from Napa's Golden Hills to Chile's Andes foothills. Each bottle is a time capsule, shaped by soil, sun, and centuries of hands that believed in letting grapes tell their own story. When science makes the wine become more varied. Now let's talk about what you feel in your mouth when you drink wine, the experience beyond flavor. Red wines are all about tannins, the bitter, drying compounds in grape skins and seeds. They're what make your mouth pucker slightly, the same way strong black tea does. That dryness isn't a flaw, it's structure. It's what lets red wines age gracefully, softening over time from bold to velvety. Whites, by contrast, are ruled by acidity. That's the bright, lemony spark that makes you salivate. The reason a Sauvignon Blanc feels refreshing, or a Riesling sings with crisp precision. If tannin is strength, acidity is freshness. And then there's alcohol, usually higher in reds, giving warmth and weight, slightly lower in whites, making them brisk and delicate. That balance between tannin, acid, and alcohol defines a wine's soul. Think of it as music. Reds play in bass and baritone, whites dance in soprano and alto. Every wine tells its origin through taste. Red wines whisper of earth and oak, black cherries, plums, smoke, even leather or tobacco. White wines sing of sunlight and fruit, apples, pears, peaches, citrus, or tropical notes. Aged reds develop layers like an old novel, hints of spice, coffee, or truffle. Meanwhile, a chilled white is like a poem in summer, clean, aromatic, fleeting. In pop culture, these differences have their own symbolism. So what's the real difference between red wine and white wine? It's not just color, it's process, it's patience, it's philosophy. Red wine embodies depth and time, bold, structured, made to linger. White wine captures light and life, bright, refreshing, made to shine. They're yin and yang, fire and water, bass and treble, different notes in the same eternal song. One isn't better, they just speak different languages. One in whispers of oak and earth, the other in laughter and lemon zest. In the large vineyards with elegant chateaus are more than just producers of wine. They are symbols of heritage, land, and the slow rhythm of nature. In regions like Bordeaux, Burgundy, the Loire Valley, and the Rhone Valley, the production of red and white wine unfolds across sweeping estates where grapevines follow contours of hills and riverbanks, forming the living roots of French viticultural identity. At a typical French wine estate, the journey begins in the vineyard. Rows upon rows of vines, tended by skilled viticulturists, capture the unique terroir, the soil, topography, microclimate, that gives each estate its fingerprint. For red wines, dark-skinned varieties like Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Pinot Noir dominate, especially in places like Bordeaux and Burgundy. As harvest time approaches, grapes are hand-picked or machine-harvested while ensuring optimal ripeness, a moment that marks the transition from season to cellar. For white wines, estates turn to grapes such as Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, or in the Loire region, Chenin Blanc. The estate will often press the grapes quickly, separating juice from skins to preserve lightness and fresh aromas. In contrast, red production holds on to skins, seeds, and sometimes stems to extract color, tannins, and structure. Back in the winery buildings, many of which are centuries-old stone chateaus or expansive modern cellars, the winemaking process is a blend of tradition and technology. For red wines, the must ferments with skins for days to weeks in stainless steel or oak vats, then may age for months or years in oak barrels. White wines might ferment at cooler temperatures to retain crisp aromatics, and often see shorter aging so that freshness remains front and center. Meanwhile, wine estates increasingly embrace organic and biodynamic practices, reducing synthetic inputs, using natural cover crops and compost, reinforcing wine as an expression of place. Culturally, these estates evoke a way of life. Summer lunches under vine-covered trellises, Sunday gatherings in the village where everyone brings a bottle, and the passing down of vineyard plots through generations. They anchor wine not merely as a beverage, but as part of French daily existence, of terroir, patience, and seasonal ritual. When a visitor crosses the threshold of a grand estate in Bordeaux or Burgundy, sees the vine rows stretching out like green ribbons, and hears the barrels nestled in cool cellars, they're stepping into a living tradition. Red wine produced here speaks of depth, time, maturity, echoing the French reverence for heritage and slow craftsmanship. White wine produced here captures lightness, clarity, and freshness, mirroring the French appreciation for elegance, finesse, and terroir expression. Thus, the large vineyards and wine estates are more than production facilities. They are cultural touchpoints where earth, labor, history, and taste converge. You've probably heard the classic rule: red wine with red meat, white wine with white meat or fish. A good guideline, sure, but not gospel. Red wines, with their tannins and depth, pair beautifully with grilled meats, stews, and rich sauces. Cabernet with steak, Merlot with mushroom risotto, Syrah with lamb. White wines thrive with fresh, delicate flavors: seafood, salads, chicken, soft cheeses. Chardonnay with roast chicken, Pinot Grigio with shrimp, Riesling with sushi. But here's the fun part. Breaking the rules often creates the best surprises. A chilled Pinot Noir with seared tuna? Perfection. A full-bodied Viognier with spicy curry? Unexpected harmony. It's less about color, more about contrast, texture, and emotion. Wine pairing is like friendship. It's about balance, not sameness. And why does one wine age gracefully while another fades fast? The answer lies in tannin, acid, and time. Red wines, fortified by tannins, evolve beautifully. A young Cabernet might taste sharp and rigid. After a decade, it turns silky, revealing new layers of cedar, spice, or dried fruit. Whites, lighter in structure, often shine in their youth, crisp, aromatic, vibrant. But there are glorious exceptions. Vintage Champagne, which gains notes of brioche and honey. German Rieslings, aging for decades with grace. White Burgundies, whose buttery oak deepens into toasted almond. Each bottle, red or white, is a living thing, breathing, transforming, waiting for the perfect moment to tell its story. As winemaker Paul Draper once said, "Great wine is about patience and faith in what you can't rush." Red and white have even become emotional metaphors. Red, passion, depth, fire. White, calm, clarity, light. Together, they're two moods of the same experience, two colors of the same art form. Here's a question as old as the vineyards. Is red wine or white wine better for you? Science says, in moderation, yes. Red wine contains resveratrol, an antioxidant found in grape skins, linked to heart health and longevity. That's partly why Mediterranean diets, with their daily small glasses of wine, are associated with lower heart disease rates. White wine, while lighter on resveratrol, offers fewer tannins and sulfites, making it gentler for some people. But experts agree, moderation is everything. As the saying goes, wine is sunlight held together by water. It's meant to be enjoyed, not overindulged. Next time you're standing before that wall of bottles, reds, whites, even rosés glowing under the store lights, don't just choose with your eyes, choose with your moment, your mood, your meal, your memory. Maybe it's a bold red for a quiet night of reflection, or a chilled white to celebrate the sun on your skin. Maybe it's the wine that reminds you of a place, a person, a time you thought you'd forgotten. Because every glass is more than flavor, it's a snapshot of where you are and who you've been. Wine doesn't ask you to be an expert. It only asks you to listen to the whispers of the vineyard, the patience of time, the laughter around your table. So the next time you raise your glass, remember, you're not just tasting grapes. You're tasting stories, traditions, and the tiny miracles that make ordinary life extraordinary. Thank you for joining with us on Secrets of Simple Things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more amazing stories about some everyday subjects. Bye for now, and